All right, so today we are here with Sean Furbrash of American Hunting Lease Association. I met Sean at the 2015 Sportsman's Classic here and was pretty interested in what he's got going on, and I think it's valuable information to share with everybody on the site here. So we're going to do a little video entry slash blog. So Sean, we appreciate your time today, and how's everything going? How was the show for you?
Well, the show was great, actually, Clint. First of all, I really appreciate the opportunity to come out and sit down here, actually, in my office and talk to your site users and stuff. So, to answer your question, the show was really fun. We had a great time. We met a lot of folks from not just South Carolina, but Georgia and North Carolina, which I probably wasn't really counting on. I didn't know we'd meet that many people, but it was a great show. And I'll be honest with you, we've done a lot of trade shows this year, and that show was run and organized about as well as any I've ever been to. It was strong.
Yeah, they definitely did a good job. I think it's Denise Frost was my main point of contact there. But I mean, everything was organized. You knew where to be, when to be there. So and that stuff just doesn't happen by itself, right? So
No, it doesn't.
yeah. So kudos to SCDNR for the show here. But let's kind of get to the heart of the matter here. What is the American Hunting Lease Association? And then also, if you could tell us a little bit of background about you and kind of how you got to be, I guess, starting or running this company.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, first of all, the American Hunting Lease Association is, as our logo says, is the voice of the hunting lease industry. The hunting lease industry is different in the Midwest than it is in the South. It's all a hunting lease. It's all about having an agreement. It's all about hunters that don't own land, hunting land that somebody else owns, and it's about protecting each other with an insurance policy. In the Midwest, it's very popular to use a broker. So you might get one on one of our certified member sites, whether it's Base Camp Leasing or Ohio Outdoor Properties or Mork Farms Hunting. Those companies offer leases in various states. And then when you go through this broker, of course, they take a small commission, but the landowner gets most of the money, and then the broker takes care of insurance and the lease agreement itself. As you guys probably know, in South Carolina and in most of the South, it's done a little differently, and that is that the hunters or hunt club goes directly to the landowner.
And we just shake hands and go out to eat dinner and say, all right.
Spit on your hand and you shake and you're good. And by and large in the South, there's still hunting lease agreements, obviously, and there is insurance policies. That's not changed. It's just a matter of there are large tracts of land in the South owned by large companies or private individuals, and so hunt clubs are more prevalent in the South.
Right.
Very few are in the Midwest. So it's all the same industry, to answer your question. Through my experience, and as I sit here, I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana, we realized early on that this industry was growing, and we felt that there needed to be a voice. There's a trade association for realtors, for veterinarians, for painters and welders, and everybody has their own trade association. So we thought there was a need to have a trade association for the leasing industry. Somebody where a landowner, if a hunt club were to come to you, and we haven't got to this point yet, but it's very close, a landowner could say, well, hunt club, we'd love for you to lease our ground, but are you AHLA certified? Meaning, do you hold yourself to the standards, and have you agreed to do business in this particular manner? And likewise with the landowner. So a hunt club can go and know that they understand, they've been educated, they know what a lease is, and this is what they should expect. And so that's one of the places we're headed. We do have companies now that are AHLA certified and belong to the association, but in short order, we'll be expanding that. So what we really do is we promote and educate people about leasing, hunting leases. I couldn't lease you 1 acre of ground. I don't have it to lease. My job is to simply, and the mission of our association is to educate people on leasing, mostly landowners. But hunters as well. So I have friends in the industry. I was approached a couple of years ago about, this is growing. They were kind of doing it on their own in their spare time, and then they convinced me that, hey, this is growing, this is taking off, and we need somebody to run it because we just don't have time to answer calls and do what we need to do. So I took over as a COO just a couple of years ago, and it's been pretty exciting ever since, frankly. We're growing rapidly. And it's not just that we're growing, the industry's growing, and that's why we're growing with it. There have been states, Illinois in particular, who have questioned the act of leasing. They question the agreement, and they question the relationship between landowners and hunters. And they were thinking maybe that somebody in this deal needs to be a real estate agent. Well, that's ridiculous, in our opinion.
Right.
And they were willing to listen, but we approached them and we said, listen, we can change some wording in this agreement. And we're happy to do that. But at the same time, nobody needs to be a real estate agent. There doesn't need to be any kind of separate tax. There doesn't need to be permits in place. This is a private landowner and a private group of hunters that simply want to come together for the betterment of each of those. And that's the Illinois agreed. They said, we understand now. We didn't exactly know how that worked. And so that's our job, to take that cause up on behalf of hunters. If we got way behind and there were several states that wanted to do this and we had no association, then we'd be behind. So we're here, we're in place now, moving forward to make sure that this stays the way we want it to stay.
Right. Well, that's good info. So I see you've got some deer, on the background here behind you. So are you primarily a deer hunter, or are those, somebody else is here?
No, I'm primarily a deer hunter. That's the nice thing about being in this business is that, there's a couple of weeks there in the late October where I'm just not here. I'm gone. And that's the nice thing about having smartphones and all that kind of stuff. If somebody needs to reach me, they can. But, yeah, I predominantly deer hunt. Turkey season here in Indiana is coming up in a couple of weeks. I'll be honest with you, I'm just not good at it.
Right.
I'll go out because most of my camo is still laying on the garage floor anyway. So, but I'll go out and I'll hear them and I'll chase them for a day or two, and then I'll be frustrated and I'll just come back and say I'm good.
Now, so just and it may be a dumb question, but I want to ask it anyway. When you're talking about the hunting lease and the landowner and the hunter, does it matter whether or not it's like water on the land, or if there's like a river? I'm thinking about like duck hunters, right? Because some people would say, oh, well, you can't own a river or whatever it may be. But is the service you're providing still applicable for all types of hunters?
Absolutely, yeah. The insurance coverage that we provide it covers acreage. So if you have a private waterway or a pond or a lake or anything, or even a wetlands where ducks are using, it does not matter if there is water on it. So yeah, we insure many thousands of acres of duck habitat, especially even down Louisiana and Missouri and Kansas and even South Carolina. So no, that really doesn't matter. A river, the landowner that has the insurance policy has to own the acreage. And so if there's a river running through it and they don't own it, then that's not covered.
Okay. All right. So if I am in South Carolina here and I'm out at the deer processor, right, and I'm just there with the good old boys, and I'm trying to explain to the hunters about the Hunting Lease Association, and of course they would ask me, well, why should I care as a hunter? What would you say to the guy at the deer processor who's like, I've never heard of this, why should I care?
Well, a couple of reasons. The first one is, I'm promoting the lease, the generic lease, the idea of a lease. So the one thing I can tell you as a hunter, and this is important to me, is this is going to result in more opportunity for you. I talk to a lot of hunters and I read a lot about hunting. The number one problem that hunters complain about is access to quality habitat, real, good land that they can actually chase the game that they want to chase on. And we all also know anybody that hunts knows that piece of ground that nobody's allowed to hunt. The landowner lives out of town, the landowner's there, and it's too much risk, they don't like it. So what we're doing is we want to educate that landowner on how to properly lease your property with the right lease agreement, the right insurance policy, an understanding between you and the hunting club that just simply says, here's what you can and can't do on my property, and just show them that there's revenue there to be realized. Another thing that's very prevalent, especially in the Midwest and some parts of the South, is these landowners are faced with taxes and bills that are starting to pile up and really become somewhat ridiculous. If we can show them this revenue stream, you can make $5,000–$10,000 on however many acres you own. they're much less likely to have to sell that property or sell parts of that property to a golf course or to a company or to a strip mall. So the more habitat we can maintain, the better off all of us as hunters are. And I understand it's, if you want to join the HLA, which we'd love to have you join, it's not going to be a direct. You're not going to see anything the next day that you say, I'm so happy I joined. But you just have to know that there are people and governments out there that question and groups our rights to hunt and to lease, and we are doing our very best to make sure that that doesn't become a problem for all of us, because I lease ground myself and I hunt, and I want to make sure I'm able to do this as long as I can.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of odd the timing of our meeting here, because just last week, one of my friends, or a couple of my friends, are in a hunting club, and that actually it's a couple 100 acres. I mean, close to 1,000, and it got the landowner sold it to a timber company, right? Because he, the taxes and all the costs and everything
Sure.
was kind of adding up, and so now they're having to go to the timber company and see if the timber company is going to lease it out. And, of course the timber company does, but they, have to have the conversation again, and
Right.
all that kind of stuff. So, all right, well, that's some good information. Now, as that's for the hunters. As far as the landowners, what would you say to them if I'm, a landowner or someone that I know is, and I say, hey, you need to check out, this hunting lease association? Of course, they would say, why should I check them out as a landowner? So I know it's going to be similar to what you just told me, but would there be a different, conversation you would have with them?
It's probably not a whole lot different. I would just simply tell landowners to call if they're questioning or asking about leasing, and that's a very popular. We get that phone call every single day here. I tell them it's the revenue is important. Nobody can turn a blind eye to the fact that we can make money, they can make money leasing their ground. But what I would tell them is there's also so many problems with, or I ask them, do you have problems with trespassers? Oh, yeah, absolutely. We don't know who's back there. Leasing fixes that for you. It certainly addresses it in a big way. When those trespassers start to see signs go up, I've got one right here, no trespassing signs, regardless of where you get them, and they start to see the same 10 pickup trucks around that property over the next couple of weeks, and they start to understand that, wow, now there are cameras in there, and those people are serious, and they're paying money. We need to stay out of there. It fixes that problem. They might have depredation problems if they own crops and the deer are just getting outnumbered. I literally, and this will blow hunters' minds, but I have people call us and say, we don't know what to do. What can we do? Well, let somebody hunt it. Oh, we can't let somebody hunt it because if they get hurt, we could lose the farm. And I understand that. If I owned a big piece of ground, I would most certainly understand that. But we can explain to them, hey, when you do it, do it right. And here, use this lease agreement, which you can use our lease agreement on our site, and use this, take this policy, which is cheap. Our insurance policy is really cheap. You can start to fix some of those problems, feel a lot more comfortable about having people on your ground, who they are, they've signed an agreement, then most landowners are very excited to hear that there's actually somebody here, not just trying to convince them to let them on their property, but it works, it's a real
Right.
policy.
Yeah, because I mean, I see a lot of, landowners are just kind of in our area that they feel, kind of like they're in the deal on their own, like they're taking a risk by letting people,
Sure.
Lease their land. So I definitely understand that. So in the background here, I've got your website pulled up here, and so we'll click around a little bit. So obviously we're on the home page here. So if I was to come to this home page, I could just get a quote right here by typing in my state and number of acres, and it would provide me a quote, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's automatic. It's real quick. It's instant. It's free, obviously. And let me, before we get into the insurance too much,
okay.
Let me explain that we are not an insurance agency. This is not, this is the way we generate revenue for ourselves to do what we want to do, to promote and educate and do all those type of things. So this is it. This is the only insurance policy that we sell. And I tell people all the time, I don't know how appropriate this is or how, but the Girl Scouts do great stuff. They educate and they teach girls and young ladies how to do certain things, and they have a great influence on our youth. And they raise money pretty much one way, and that is they sell cookies. this very similar. We have an agenda, we have a mission, and what we're trying to accomplish and goals that we want to reach. And the way that we can do those is by making some revenue, some generating revenue. And so we sell this one policy, and that's it. So we are, I had to be licensed, so we are licensed, but at the same time, you can't call here and buy homeowners insurance or car, it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
This is it, and it's strictly for hunters. So I like to make that stipulation because I don't want people to think that we're just an insurance agency looking for a new angle. Not at all.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's good to know that you have kind of focused on a specific, area, and that's what you're passionate about, because a lot of time that makes a big difference here.
Sure.
So I'm gonna be clicking around a little bit, and my camera will drop out momentarily. So you just have some information about the hunting lease. If we click on the benefits here, we can see some of the benefits that exist here for both the hunters and the landowners. And it's talking about common law here. Is there anything you could say about the common law not fully protecting you?
Absolutely. A lot of people are under the misconception. A lot of states have said, if you'll sign a waiver here, and you can find it in the state regulations handbook, sign the waiver and you're good. And I think that's a great start. I'm thrilled that they actually took those kind of steps. But the fact is, once a landowner charges someone to hunt on their property, that's not going to take care of it. The second thing I'll tell you is that if you were to sign a waiver of any kind with the landowner and expect to be clear and in the free, you're not. Because what happens is, and I don't make any of this up, a person or somebody will fall from a tree and either die or be paralyzed, and their wives did not sign that waiver. So, with the best of intentions, 6 months, a year down the road, and the main source of income for that family is no longer able to provide for that family, the wife or the relatives or somebody's going to come looking for somebody to be liable, and that happens. And that's why, again, this insurance policy is, so inexpensive and so easy to get, literally online, and you're done. There's just no reason not to have it.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of 3 guys in my own hometown who have, had some pretty serious accidents, related to deer hunting and deer stands. So can definitely identify with that.
Let me expand on that real quick, Clint. Well, I don't know if you remember, but in our booth, while we were in South Carolina, we had 2 iPads set up, and we took quick surveys. And we did this at every trade show we went to.
Yeah, I filled out the survey, and I don't guess I won whatever it was I was trying to win.
No, some young lady did win it. She was very excited about winning that Yeti cooler. But we, one of the questions was, do you hunt from an elevated tree stand? And the next question was, do you always, sometimes, or never wear a safety harness? Less than half always wear one, which tells me more than half of the hunters across the country, because we were in several states.
Right.
This is a total, are not wearing a safety harness when they climb a tree. To me, that is absolutely mind-blowing, eye-opening, astounding, whatever you can say. I've fallen, not from a tree stand, but I've fallen before about 12 feet and broke some ribs. I was in pain and agony for a couple of months. If you fall out of a tree stand from any greater than 15 feet, in all honesty, you will be lucky if you break both your ankles. You literally will be fortunate if you're not paralyzed in a wheelchair forever or killed, frankly. We are partnering with Hunter Safety Systems to promote and now educate as many folks as we can on tree stand safety, which seems that it would not be necessary, but it is. And we've recently found out there's an initiative being started called the Tree Stand Safety Awareness Initiative. It's the TSSA. It is in its infancy, but the plan is for August to be Tree Stand Safety Awareness Month. And so they're going to do this initiative is going to do all it can to promote wearing a safety harness. I have a safety harness now. I don't have a tree stand set on my lease that doesn't have a lifeline, which is a rope that comes all the way down to the ground. You hook into this rope while you're standing on the ground, and it climbs with you, and you never, ever are disconnected from that tree.
Right. And
that's really where we all have to be. And the most startling thing that I thought, or that I've noticed over the course of several shows, was the young kids, the boys, between 17 and 25, who not only did they not wear safety harnesses, they made fun of each other if they said they did. And, you know, they're kids. I get it. I was there too. But that's the group we have to reach to say, no, this is part of hunting. It's like your ammo, your gun, your camo. If you don't have a safety harness partner, you go back to the truck and either get it or you aren't hunting with me.
Right.
And that's where we should be now. So I appreciate you kind of letting me elaborate on that.
Yeah.
That's something I'm very passionate about, is a needless fall from a 20-foot tree stand, and we all of a sudden have a young man or lady who is paralyzed and will never realize the joys of life that they should have.
Right. Yeah, no, we definitely need to work to change the mindset and the culture there.
Absolutely.
All right, so I had also opened up some other tabs. We're getting close to 20 minutes here, so I don't want to keep going on and on. But I have opened a couple tabs. So on this tab, we see an example of, you know, a lease agreement. So this is like the agreement that both parties would sign, and it's got stipulations and everything. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. You can go through there. Of course, that's just a sample, but you can scroll through that after you buy a policy and put in the acres, what you're allowed to do, place for everybody to sign it. That document has been well tested. It has been reviewed by attorney after attorney, and that document literally sets the standard for the industry.
Okay. So this would be the agreement, and then after we sign and get the policy and agreement in place, this tab, I believe, is the actual binding agreement. Is that right?
That is the certificate you get, and we will mail you one, and we will mail one to your landowners that simply proves we are insured, we're covered, and here are the limits of our coverage, and that is proof, again, that you are all covered and insured.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So I guess the next question would be, where can we find out about, or where can we register? Obviously, you can register on the ahuntinglease.org site, or, and Sean, you'll appreciate this, I have placed a banner at the top here of the wehuntsc.com site, so you could easily click here and register, and we'll include this in the blog, and we'll kind of put it on the side here, but we'll have it somewhere on the site so everybody can see it. And honestly, I think just having this banner, being visible is going to make people think and ask questions like, wow, do I even need this, right? So it's just, kind of raising awareness through, the simple question.
Oh, I agree. First of all, I really appreciate you putting that banner up there. But yeah, as you can see on that banner, this starts at $175, divided between all of the people in your hunt club. It's a piece of cake. But yeah, click on the banner, come to the site, look around. And real quick before we get done, once you're a member of the site or of the association, you're automatically enrolled for our Dream Lease Sweepstakes. I want to talk quickly about that.
Is it? And that's on your website? Is there something I can?
It is. Yeah, view it on our homepage.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So we are, as part of being a member, you're automatically enrolled in this. Base Camp Leasing was generous enough to give us a $10,000 gift certificate. If any of your folks have ever wanted to hunt Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, this is the opportunity for a $30 membership to do just that. In addition to that, we have, I think, 6 Tundras from Yeti Coolers. I've got safety harnesses and full restraint systems from HSS. I've got Sitka full systems, hunting systems, jacket and pants from Sitka. Those are valued like $1,000 each.
Right.
We've got a multitude of things that we're going to give away to our members once they've joined. We're going to do that right around it's the end of August, 1st of September time period. So if you do win the certificate, you can jump on a lease.
So is the member being someone who's a landowner or a hunter or both, or does it matter?
Anybody can join.
Okay.
Anybody can join. For $30, you get a hat. It's a nice hat. I mean, it's a modest package for this, but you get a license tag. This is this wraps around the antlers of the deer. Your tag goes in there, so you can keep that from getting all bloody and cut up. And you get a sticker for the back of your truck. And then, again, the big thing is you get entered into the sweepstakes.
Gotcha.
Some guys look at it like a $30 raffle ticket, which,
right,
to some point it is, but it's just another way we can generate some revenue to do the work that we need to do around the country.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we definitely appreciate your time today and information here, and I will try to get this posted here shortly and send you a link to it. So, Sean, we really appreciate what you're doing. And I mean, as far as the providing the service as well as the education, and things like that. So any parting comments you want to say before we wrap it up here?
Nope. Just thank you so much for taking your time to do this and to create the website. I hope you get a lot of folks using that website because, man, that's the way that you guys can see how the deer are moving in certain parts of the state. Enter the contest. I know that Clint's got going. So thank you very much for including us in this. And I look forward to getting back to South Carolina as soon as I can.
All right. Well, we appreciate it.